Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're going to be reviewing the all-new 2023 Chevy Corvette. First and foremost, a huge shout out and thank you to the Mercedes-Benz of Farmington, Utah for giving me some time with this Corvette. I'll include a link to their website in the description down below if you want to check it out because it is available for sale. By the way, the Mercedes-Benz of Farmington is a one-price store, so they'll make your buying experience super easy and straightforward. With that being said, let's get into it. Let's take a look at this Corvette 2LT. So you guys can see the key fob here, and notice we've got the lock-unlock remote start, the opening for the frunk, and then also the opening for the engine bay there in the rear, or I guess the trunk, because it does technically have trunk storage space. And this is actually the first time that I have had a chance to review a regular C8 that doesn't have the Z51 performance package. And this is the first time that I've had a chance to really look at the 2LT package, which is the most popular package, frankly, but for some reason I just haven't been able to get access to it. So it's cool to finally be able to see it. Anyways, you guys can see the Corvette logo there front and center, and then notice all the blacked out elements down below. And even in quote unquote base model body kit format, the C8 still looks really good from a front end perspective. You don't need the crazy like carbon fiber ground effects or anything like that for it to be a really good looking car. Now, this has a pretty interesting setup here with the wheels and with the brake calipers and everything, because you've got, like, again, the car finished in rapid blue, and you guys can see with the front tires, 245, 35, 19. But anyways, rapid blue with, like, silver wheels and then yellow brake calipers. I think that it would have been a little bit better if they did black wheels, because that, having, like, three different colors, it just, kind of... It doesn't look bad, but yeah, let me know what you guys think on that whole setup. And then I always have been a fan of the side blade here. It just looks so cool. And then you can see here with the setup in the rear, and obviously the tires are going to be quite a bit wider in the rear. That's typical for most mid-engine cars, is they'll do pretty narrow tires in the front, and then they'll do wide tires in the rear because, well, that's where, it's rear-wheel drive, so that's where the power is going down, so that's where you're going to need grip. And then here are the tail lights, which kind of look like an evolution of the Camaro taillights, actually. And again, when they're on, they look pretty cool. And I love the sequential turn signal with the new C8. I've always been a fan of how that looks. And notice with the squared off exhaust tips, this is something that's kind of been controversial for some people, but obviously with the new Z06, it changes that. And then you can see a little Stingray there on the back, which is pretty cool. And then the glass engine cover, so you can actually see the engine, the Corvette logo. And again, without any like spoiler or anything like that, it looks pretty interesting from a rear end perspective, but I think it actually looks cool. It kind of has like a sleek appearance to it. So yeah, it's interesting to see how that looks without the whole sporty package added to it. And then yeah, we got more colors happening. This one's again an interesting spec, but I feel like Corvettes always tend to have kind of interesting specs with them. And then you guys can see here with the door panel, notice again with that kind of two-tone design. This one has the Bose sound system, and then blind spot monitoring for the mirrors. So you can get a little bit of safety tech with the C8, but not like a massive amount. And then, of course, electronic opening for the door. And notice how they have like the stitching there even on the bottom of the door panel. So it's not necessarily leather trim, but you still have the stitching down below as well. And then obviously the buttons to open up the frunk and the hatch. Now, with the frunk on the C8, I always thought it was interesting that it's kind of like sharp with the lines. And you can see the storage space there. It's actually pretty good. It's one of the big benefits of the C8 and just mid-engine cars in general is the fact you have a frunk, but this one, it's pretty decent in size. It's probably about the same size as something like the frunk in like a 911, roughly, which I guess that's kind of where Chevy's trying to pull buyers from now, it seems like. Their mid-engine design, obviously 911 being rear engine. But anyways, here is the V8 itself. So 6.2 liter V8 naturally aspirated, 8-speed dual clutch automatic, no manual available, 490 horsepower, 470 pound-feet of torque. If you get the Z51 package, it jumps it up to like 495 horsepower, so just 5 more horsepower. But you can't like perceive a difference from an acceleration perspective between like a regular and a Z51, like in real world circumstances. Like it's, again, negligible amounts. I love how it's soft close. Definitely makes things a little bit easier with the opening and all that. And I will say that, overall with the kind of like theme they've done with the C8, I think they did a good job. And of course, you got your Stingray badge. And notice with the seats, again, first coloration, white with the blue, and then you got the silver wheels and yellow brake calipers. Whoever optioned this out has interesting taste, to say the least. And then with the pedals down below, nothing crazy. They just did pretty normal setup there. And then you got the controls there for the heads-up display, pretty normal Chevy thing to do. And then you do have nice padding and stitching on the dash, so they did do quite a bit to make it so the interior feels pretty upscale. And I actually like the stop-start button too. Again, they did a good job with the material use there. You got the full digital gauge cluster. And then notice from that, you guys can see we've got the squared off steering wheel. Anyways, with the steering wheel itself, you guys can see you've got nice pedal shifters there on the back, and hopefully the audio lines up because my computer decided to freeze in the middle of doing the voiceover and when we're kind of restarting. But got cruise control as well. Pretty normal car stuff. And I think they did a good job with the overall look of the steering wheel. And you guys can see here with the with the center infotainment system, rather, it's pretty responsive, and this is Chevy's unit they've used for quite some time, and I think it's a pretty good system overall. They've got a really good camera system integrated with it, so it's like a full 360 camera system. Most, high performance cars will typically just have a backup camera. Back in the day they didn't have a camera, and so this is cool that you can see out of every single angle, so you don't have to worry about scratching anything on it or bottoming out or any of that stuff, because it does have a front end lift as well. But it's an available option rather. But you got the drive mode select right there, and then you can see with the stability control, and then with the front camera to pop that on. I like how they have a shortcut button for that, because again, with these cars, it's usually the front end that's the hardest to kind of direct. And then you've got like your whole climate control pad, which is all in a straight line with the heated and cooled seats. And it does have a dual zone climate system, but the passenger's kind of in their own little area, and the controls are almost like faced away, which is interesting to say the least. And again, look at the dash. So nice material use with the stitching. But yeah, they definitely kind of give the passenger their own little cocoon. I've always thought it was interesting too with the wireless phone charger behind. And then you guys can see there with our little 70 decal, because that's the thing with the 2023s is you've got the 70th anniversary treatment on the cars that you can add to it, which is pretty cool. And then with the gauge cluster itself, full digital gauge cluster, it changes with the different drive modes, which is fun, especially with the sportier modes. Like, again, feels like full race car, how it's like just straight across. So I think they did a great job with the animations on that system overall. And also what I would like to say is the fact that it's just so customizable. Like literally any bit of information you want to see, you can pretty much just have it pop right up. And then also, just like with the Camaro, when you put it in different drive modes, it'll actually open or close the valves depending on the mode you're in. So like if you're in a sport mode, then yeah, it's gonna have everything open up and aggressive, whereas if you're in like the touring mode, right, the normal mode, then it's gonna have everything kind of closed down and less aggressive with the exhaust, which again makes complete sense. And I did want to mention also, I'm pretty impressed with the fit and finish with the new C8 overall. Like all the components, it feels pretty well put together, which you couldn't say necessarily about previous Corvette generations. And then also with the top, it's pretty cool with the T-top, I can just take that off. And then got the camera mirror, which you guys know I'm a huge fan of because that's a nice bit of safety tech. But that's pretty much everything for our quick tour there of the C8.